Good, thank you. Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Manchester City. We'll start off with Vinny from Sky.
Well, obviously, it's only a few days after the takeover was complete, but do you notice a difference around the place? Is it calmer? What do you notice?
I thought there was a good atmosphere yesterday before the game even started. That feeling around the stadium, you can't quite always put your finger on it, but you know what I mean. I think they're just the idea of when no one quite knows what's going on, everyone's uncertain and people don't like that. And I think when there's some certainty, and I certainly think, the Freaking Group have given that certainty when they use the word stability. And I think, because it's been an unstable situation, I think that's a word that all the Evertonians want to hear as a start point. Obviously, there's more to come, but that's a start point. So I think it just brings a bit of calmness, kills the story off, and hopefully gives a more positive feel about the club at large. And obviously, it's our job to continue on the pitch, giving it a positive feel.
What further certainty have they been able to give you? Because I believe you went out for dinner with them, didn't you?
Yeah. It was a very casual dinner, very nice dinner in the city. And, they were good people to sit and have a chat with. And like I say, it was a casual sort of situation. Some about Everton, some about me, about my past, about what I found here. But a lot of just casual stuff and some about themselves, of course, as individuals and as a group. But yeah, it was nice to have a kind of more informal kind of chat with the guys who were here. So, yeah, it was good. And really, off the back of that just comes more of an assurance of what I am and what I am here. And as I said last week, the thing that goes with the territory is you've got to win games. Of course, I know that. But from the work that I've done and we've collectively done, then it's fair to say they've been happy with that, and hopefully it will continue in the right vein.
I think you kind of hinted at it the other day as well, but are you feeling that you have to prove yourself at this point?
I think you're always proving yourself as a manager. There's always a question over something, whether it's internal, external. You have to answer to a lot of people. So I think that's just the norm. I don't think this is specific to them, and I don't think their reason behind it is either. The fact is we all know you've got to win games as a manager, or you've got to win enough games to be deemed successful in whatever situation there is. And I think I've done that so far here with all the different things that have been thrown at us, and want to win more, of course.
I think they've made it clear that they're going to support you. At the same time, you also said about the PSR situation. So when are you thinking you're going to know exactly what you could do?
Yeah, I didn't want that to be misconstrued, actually. What I mean is there's still guidelines. It doesn't mean there's any trouble there, by the way. Or certainly not that I know of that's coming or anything like that. I was just suggesting there are rules, all clubs have got to stay inside of. So that's still, there are some parameters that we'll have to look at. The club are doing, of course, to make sure we're the right side of that. But I need to make that clear. It's not specific. There's no trouble necessarily, any of that. All clubs are now looking at having to make sure they're in the guidelines, but the guidelines would suggest we haven't got a situation where it's just going to be endless money at every situation. That's definitely not going to be the situation, but there's no problem at the moment. So just to make that clear.
So that means that maybe you're confident of getting something in January?
No, I think it's still going to be tough. I don't think the guidelines, what the club is suggesting are still going to be quite, we've got to be quite guarded with the situation. Like I say, it's not going to be a case you can just throw money everywhere. That's definitely not the case. And I don't think this group are going to do that anyway. I think they're going to try and build something, their words of stability, then added in the fact to, rightly put the club where it belongs in their eyes, but also the time needed, So certainly that was what they expressed to me.
3 clean sheets on the bounce after the defeat to United. How did you reinstill that belief in the side?
I don't think we've lacked belief over the season. I think, confidence goes up and down with results, of course, but I don't think it's been a situation of belief. I think, the finer details, the margins that are tight, the way you get on top of them margins and make them favourable is the work for all the staff, the players, the training ground work. But inevitably it comes out on a pitch. That's when you need it. And we've certainly corrected the defensive side of things. I think that's quite obvious from early season. Finding that balance to go and attack with more a clinical nature is the next step, and it sounds easy. It's not easy, but that's certainly what we're looking to do, because the defensive side has been very good for the last number of games, and 7 clean sheets in 10.
You'll come on to goals in a minute, but Tarky said after the game that earlier in the season, the start of the season, he felt a little undercooked. Did you sense that? Did you see that more?
Well, we had a lot of injuries during pre-season. I never think that's ideal. A lot of players who have become very important over their time here missed quite big chunks of pre-season, and I think it's hard to catch that up. You know, people presuppose you get fit in a few days. Not Premier League fit, you don't. You know, and that real sharpness. So I do express that at the beginning of the season, not as any kind of excuse. I've got the stats and facts. I've been doing it a long time, and I've been here long enough to know what these guys need and where they're at when they're physically right. And I knew there was a number of players who weren't physically right, and we were having to play them to catch up. And I've always been a believer you get, fit for the task, not use the task to get fit. So we had to start using the task to get fit, therefore playing games when people weren't quite fit. And I did think it affected our performance. There was some obvious details and mistakes, of course, in them early performances, but a lot of it was down to just basic fitness, I felt. And now as the team's got stronger and the group have got stronger and fitter, I think it's beginning showing up in our performances.
We mentioned about goals, but failing to score in 6 of the last 7 at the same time now, for the first time this season, you've got all 4 strikers available to you. So do you anticipate that that's going to make a big difference to you?
We hope it to. Scoring goals in the Premier League is not an easy task. Everyone knows that. But I think we've got 4 different options, 4 players of different types, and we're hoping to use them wisely.
Again, though, the fact that you've got those options, what does it do within the group when you've got that competition? You've got those all 4.
Well, it's only just coming together, but yeah, we want that in-house competitive element. We want people who are desperate to play, and I think strikers, well, all players should be, but strikers, especially when the noise is that we're not scoring as many goals, well, that hopefully is. It's gold to a striker, thinking, well, I want to be the one who makes a difference. That strikers have that edge about them, or they should have, where they want that glory. They want to be the next person who makes a difference. So we've got 4 vying for one shirt, usually at the moment, because we've used 3 in midfield a lot more often. Then that's got to be good as a competitive motivator.
Clearly, you're in better form at the moment than Manchester City. What are you seeing when you analyse them that accounts for the fact that they've lost 3 on the bounce, lost 9 of the last 12?
Well, I was reading some words from Pep, and it's a similar sort of similar but different situation. I talk about the marginal. He's saying that, a lot of times they haven't done the correct things at the right times. I think he mentioned that when they were scoring goals, the reason why they're scoring, they're not. When they were conceding or weren't conceding, as the case may be. And the details, if they're not right, even for the top teams, if you don't get them right, then things don't work out for you. They'll be trying to correct that. We're in the progress of correcting somewhat what we were doing. We still need to win more games, obviously, and score more goals, but it's a constant thing, and it's I don't know all of Pep's history, but I think it's unlikely he's had too many spells like this. So you'd think at some point it happens, even to the best, and he is arguably one of the best ever. So for him to have a testing period actually shows how tough the game is, and even for the top side, to stay at the very top. They were talking about these games coming up, as you know, and you rightly spoke to me about them, this tough run. Well, Pep's having a tough run, of different kinds. I did mention it weeks ago. I said, even he'll be looking at fish going, they suddenly look a bit tougher than when they're rolling over teams, left, right and centre, which they have done many times. And that's just the psychology of what it is to be a manager. But he's still a top manager. And they've still got some fantastic players. It's not, you go there and expect, we're going to win just because. We've got to go and deliver a performance. We've got to play hard. We've got to play strong. We've got to have all the tactical discipline we've been showing and forge as many chances as we can to win it.
It's a cliche, obviously.
Excuse me.
Do you go back to beware the wounded animal?
Yeah, I understand the cliche. It's like I said, they haven't all become terrible players overnight. Trust me, and he certainly is not a terrible manager. I know that. So you've got to be guarded, but we've got to equally believe in what we're doing and the strength of our performances, defensively, of course, and then how different ways we can hopefully open the opposition up. But no, it's still not an easy task, that's for sure. But it's a situation where we're in, I would say, at least strong form as regards our defensive side. Now we've got to see how many ways we can open up the opposition and hopefully win more games, of course.
Sure.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll get to Richard at Premier League Productions.
Sean, we're only 24 hours removed from the Chelsea game, obviously. But in terms of team news, how are you shaping up for the next week with the games coming up? And obviously you're going to have to use the squad in the press.
Yeah, well, Young is out anyway. And he ripped his neck. Some people were saying I said he ripped his neck. I didn't mean that. I know I couldn't work that one out. I was like, no, he didn't rip his neck. He ripped his neck. I was trying to express it. It's headlines, he's ripped his neck. I was like, no. Anyways, he should be fine. That should settle down quite quickly, but he can't play anyway, suspended. Dwight's still touch and go. We're not sure on that. We're hopeful it'll settle down. Probably not for this one, but sooner rather than later. And Tim and Jimmy are still a bit away, but they are just getting back on the grass. So hopefully it's getting closer.
Obviously, you've just talked a little bit about the new owners coming in, the improved form, certainly defensively as well. How upbeat are you right now when you look at your term here as Everton manager? Is this as positive as you can remember feeling at any one point?
Well, I think at the end of last season we had a great run of wins and clean sheets and beat Liverpool, so that was a very positive period. This has been an indifferent period for many different reasons. Expectation went higher, spending went lower, which is always a challenge when that happens. The outcome on the pitch wasn't as good as we hoped for at the beginning of the season. We've found a bit more of a level playing field to build from. The ownership seems to have given a more balanced view of the club at the moment. Can't really think of the word, not really balanced, but a more positive outlook, which is helpful, of course. And then it's for us to keep building on the pitch, So if the off the pitch stuff is stable, then how can we keep, going on the pitch, working with the players to develop a side that can win more, And that's really the process. And it's obviously there's a lot more detail than that, but in its simplest form. I think there just seems to be an air of changing the mood, a change in the media mood about Everton Football Club. It just seems to have lifted things, that there's what the new owner's words is just stability, and I think that seems to have brought calmness. But like I say, we've got to do it on the pitch. You can't. That doesn't last forever. There's still question marks of what can we win more, can we score more goals, and all these things. So we've still got to deliver that. But I would say there's a bit more of a positive energy about Everton Football Club at the moment in general.
I think essentially that's what I'm getting at with the ownership issue put to bed. That's a big chunk of noise that's always been around here since you took charge. It's gone away and presumably allows you to concentrate on your day job.
Yeah, I think more so. I've had to answer to a lot here, and that's fine. That's the way it is. And I was mentioning, I got a question about it last week, and I was saying one of the biggest changes will be doing this. There's a lot more talk about the football than there is about everything else. And in my time, I don't know what the stat would be, but I bet it's probably 70% of the time I've been speaking about other things other than just football. So hopefully that'll return to the pitch and what I do and what the team does and what my staff do, rather than me having to answer questions about all and sundry. But that's just been the nature of it. That's been the nature of the club since I got here. It's changed all of a sudden. Or not all of a sudden, we were waiting for it to change, and now it is. They have taken ownership, so we'll take it on and see where we can take it as a collective.
And just on City, they've enjoyed so much success under Pep over the years that everybody sort of seems to be under this impression it's when, not if, that it turns back. As a football man yourself, when you see their performances over the last 2 months or so, are you also one of those that's scratching your heads, or do you see subtle little differences? No,
I think to keep the prowess that they've shown year on year, winning things, the style they're winning in, it's difficult to carry that on and on and on. That's why everyone speaks so highly, including myself, as Sir Alex Ferguson, 24 years, I think it was, of constantly changing the team, changing the dynamic, bringing it up to what you'd call modern ways and making it win. And along them journeys, they've had times when it wasn't to his liking, it wasn't going as well. I think this is Pep's first one. So, goodness me, they've been amazing. I hope they're not amazing this week, but they have been. So there's nothing but respect from me for the club, let alone the manager and the players. What they've done there is an absolutely, truly amazing story. But that all goes out the window when the whistle blows. I can care less about any of that when the whistle blows, because I'm Everton's manager, so I just want to win.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard. We'll go to Julia.
Ahead of the Christmas games, then, it's 16 games, 16 points. How do you rate that return?
I think it's about. I would like more, and I would have expected more. Not drastically more, but I think the early part of the season when we were commanding in games and should have seen them through and should have won, that would have put us in an even better spot. That being said, when you add in the injuries, the upheaval of the group, the selling players, trying to spend less, and all these different factors, then I wasn't thinking delusions of grandeur. I wasn't thinking we'd be in the top four, but I thought we'd be slightly better off than we are points wise.
Given the goals have been a struggle in the last couple of months, apart from the Wolves game, Armando Broja, I know he couldn't play at the weekend. Is this an opportunity for him now to start? Maybe you mix it up front, given it hasn't necessarily come off so far in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think we're trying to find the right way of working to make sure we create more chances and score more goals. We've had to go back to the drawing board from the first 4 games defensively. I think that was quite obvious. We found a better way of working as a group to keep clean sheets and stop goals going in one end, and now it's finding the balance in the other end. That's not just about the strikers, that's about all the players, how we can find their moments. And I thought we so nearly did yesterday, particularly more so second half, against the top side. So that's a positive sign, but we've got to keep doing it.
Given those clean sheets against Arsenal and Chelsea and the performances against, two sides that are in the title race, has that changed everyone's perspective in here? Is that what's helped some of the belief a little bit?
I mean, the thing is that results change everyone's perspective. Simple as that. If them games, we get beat in them games and still get the same performance, everyone would have a completely different view. If we won them games, an even bigger positive view. So it's often the results. Tactical performances and team performances are massively swayed by results for everyone. That's the way it goes. We watch them back. And also the other way, by the way, but, I've had great wins along my career, and we watched them back and gone, well, it wasn't as good as what we thought. But at the time it felt fantastic. And then you look back and you go, God, they had a chance there. We should have done that better. We should have done this better. But that works both ways. I've lost games. I thought we've been excellent. At the beginning of last season, I thought the first 4 or 5 games we weren't winning. I thought we were excellent. The form was excellent. But no one was right and we were excellent, because that's the way it goes. Results, scorelines change everyone's thinking. It's just the way it's the way all sporting industries are. But certainly football. Goals completely change the outlook. My job is to look through the goals, look at the performance, look at the good stuff, look at things that are not as good, try and correct it and keep the performance levels high. And that way you look after yourself over a longer period. As I said, it should be, in my view, it's always a season's work. Not too high with the highs, not too low with the lows during it. At the end of the season, it's a time to reflect and go, right, that's where we are.
You said before something you have fixed is the defence. So it's 7 clean sheets in total so far. I know it's one of the best in the Premier League. You're currently, since October, the best in Europe's top 5 leagues as well for clean sheets. How much of a role does Jordan Pickford play in that? Do you think he doesn't necessarily get the credit that he deserves?
No, I think he knows that it's a team performance. He knows the work we do, don't forget, inside. So he knows the pressure we're putting on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, let's say, as a main striker currently, of how he presses from the front. And the wide players now, they're working. Then the midfield 3 currently, rather than the 2 and the 1, more like a 3. So where are they pressing? Where are they recovering to? How are the back 4 operating? Then it gets stepped back to him. So I'm sure he appreciates all that work going on in front of him. And then it's very helpful when he's making saves as well. So it's a good combination. The challenge now is to realise, how can we turn that around and go and attack teams better? How can we be open enough to go and create more chances to turn draws into wins? But he knows his part in that. He knows everyone else's part in that.
Thanks, Julia. We'll go to Carl at the Press Association.
Hi, Sean. Just a quick one. Ashley Young has been one of your more consistent performers all season. Obviously, you're without him. Seamus hasn't had a lot of football, but he would obviously be the obvious replacement, I guess. But you obviously rely a lot on his experience when he's not played a lot of football. You spoke earlier about not being fit, but not match fit. But you're going to have to probably rely on his experience.
He's been very unlucky this season, because he's come in, certainly the fittest I've seen him since I've been here. And he's been incredibly unlucky with injuries. I mean, he came back pre-season super fit. He made it clear to me at the end of the season he's going again this season. I was in playing. We spoke about his other options, and he said, no, I'm clear-minded. I'm going to continue playing. He signed another contract, and he held his end of the bargain without a shadow of a doubt. He came back absolutely super fit. He's been incredibly unlucky with injuries. Yes, he'd probably have liked to have played more this season, but with his depth of experience and his game knowledge, that's certainly favourable to be putting a player in the strength of professionalism that he has. So, yes, Young has done great, but he was heavily questioned, don't forget, at the beginning of the season. I said how mentally tough he is, and he's shown that, because I think he's done great. And he's mentally tough as well. He's our club captain for a reason. So, yeah, I've got no doubt in his ability to play and get back to true fitness.
And I guess even though he's been out for a long time, his role behind the scenes has been important for you.
Yeah, I mean, he always is, and he knows that. We value his input, we value him as a person as well as a player.
Thanks, Carl. Any further questions in the open section?